Hi guys, and thanks to you all here on Blab and everyone who's watching on the replay for joining us again for this Create in 30 show. For those of you who are new to the broadcast, wherever you're watching, you can catch this live every week at blab.im/create in 30. That's CRE8 not IN30. Which will be underneath all of the places that this is repurposed. If you found it on YouTube or in a blog post, you'll be able to click links within those to find it nice and easily. What we do is, the format of the show is it's a 30-minute show where we showcase one thing that you can do really well to create compelling content, and it's a 30-minute segment on that. Today's segment is about faster blogging. As always, I'm joined by the lovely Sarah Moore, who co-hosts with me every week. Occasionally we'll have a guest in. This week it's just myself and Sarah. We're going to show you how to do faster blogging, but not only how to do that, but also how to blog, even if you're the type of person who's not inclined towards writing long pieces of content. So a couple of killer tips on how you can drive your blog forward and how to kind of get started with a blog if you weren't kind of in that sphere already. So Sarah, do you want to do a quick welcome while I do a quick update on the topic over here?
Yes, I do. Hi, everybody. So I'm Sarah Moore, and as most of you already know, and thank you everyone for being here. As Tristan said, today we are talking faster blogging. So we'll be talking faster blogging / a little bit of repurposing going on, / a little bit of blogging hacks. Cool. So there you go.
So I'm going to sit on camera, and then partway through the broadcast, I am going to jump out and change my screen over to share my screen so that we can show you some of the tools that we use. Firstly, for how we get the show together, and secondly, how then we repurpose, because obviously you'll have seen we put out blog posts and we put out content through other social mediums that are graphics and things like that, which we've touched on. Other things like using Canva, which you can go to the YouTube channel. We'll drop the links later. You can go to the YouTube and you can watch back the 30-minute shows that are on each segment on how to do that. So I guess we start out, by saying, why should you go and create a blog? So Sarah, I'm going to let you answer that question.
Why should you go and create a blog? Well, I will tell you why you should go and create a blog. I mean, once upon a time, it was brilliant for SEO, and it still actually remains one of the reasons why you should be creating a blog. So getting all your keywords in there that pertain to what you do as a job, so that when people go and search for you in Google, you hopefully rank. Now, I'm not going to go into SEO because it's, at the end of the day, it's fairly long and complicated. I'll be honest. Not a lot of things are that complicated when it comes down to it, but SEO is one of those things where you can dive really, really, really deep. And but one of the other reasons is basically, if you're creating content for people, that's a way of giving value to them without even offering your services, without them having to pay you. It's a way of, if any of you prescribe to the Gary Vaynerchuk school of thought, it's what he would consider a jab. So he's talking about that in boxing terms: jab, 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 right hook. Right hook is the ask or the sale or the whatever it is that you require something back from the other person. But the jab is the value. It's like, I'm giving you content, I'm giving you content, I'm giving you things to help you improve your business, your life, your health, whatever it is, whatever industry you're in. And creating content is a really great way of doing that. The other thing that I'll mention is that when someone goes to your website, it's actually just a great way to keep them there, because otherwise they're going to be on there for 3 seconds. They're going to go, okay, yeah, you do that, you cost that, I'm going now. But to have a blog, somewhere where they can sit there and start to consume your ideologies, to consume what you believe, what you teach, what you know, is a great way to keep them on there And to the point of keeping them on there is to begin to build that relationship. Even if they connect with you nowhere else, and even though they're not directly connecting with you like this face to face, it's a great start to the relationship. I know that I've started reading many blogs and gone back to them over and over and over again before I've connected with them anywhere else. And that's actually, it's the blog that has built my trust to the point where I've connected with them on social media. Now I do things a little bit differently. But I can see that in my past, before I was more in the social media sphere, I would read blogs a lot, and that would actually build trust. I didn't know what was happening at the time. I just realized I was going back to the same people, and I was like, I actually really like you, and I look forward to you putting out content. So they're the reasons you want to be blogging. I will add this as well. I believe that I don't believe blogging is dead in any way, shape, or form, but I believe that we are shifting in how we blog. So just with the fast nature of technology, the way people consume, I think that we all need to be considering adding vlogging or video blogging into our marketing mix. This is coming from Sarah Moore, the digital strategist. So I would highly suggest getting some kind of visual platform happening for yourself. It's the way of the future, and I think you're losing out really, really big if you don't, if you're afraid to be on camera, because we're all going to have to go there, and you're going to get left behind if you only do the written word.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you, Sarah. And I think that, like you said, with the blog, it's a good way to build trust. It's a good way for people to discover you. For me, the reason that we do a lot of blogging and we write a lot of content is actually, it's for us, it's one hub of places people can go. Obviously, within blogs, you quite often bring people back to your socials. So it's some place that you can give one URL for people to go, rather than saying, oh, Facebook is here, Snapchat is here, Periscope is here, Blab is here. You can put them all into one spot so that you can direct people to one place, and it's an easy place to send them. You've also got the most control over that. It's own the race horse or own the race course. Obviously, on your own blog, you own the whole race course. So you can control everything, the look, the feel, and the experience for everyone. And obviously, everything is about the experience that you can deliver to people. So we're talking about blogging. So jumping back to the topic of so we've discussed why you need to blog. Now we're going to talk about, we've opened with saying, you don't need to be someone who's kind of driven towards writing a lot of content in order to write a good blog. Nowadays, there's so many different tools and bits and pieces. So we're going to show you 2 or 3 different ways that you can do this. And there's a couple that I'm going to drop on Sarah that I haven't actually pre-warned her about. So I always like to do that, add a couple of bit of extra value while we're on the show. So for those of you people who are live streaming, so people who are here on Blab with us, people who are creating content on YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube, or, even people who are periscoping, you're already creating a blog. All you've done is you haven't put the content into a blog. Everything that's going on in here is what goes to a blog. So every time that you're talking, so YouTube is a form of obviously video blogging, so blogging. And likewise with, Periscope and things like that. Obviously, those are designed with an urgency in mind and changing things around in the fact that they expire unless you're using other tools to catch them. So if you think about it for a minute, everything that you're putting out and sharing content through video blogging and all these kind of broadcast mediums, there are a number of different ways that you can harness that power to put it straight into a blog without the extra work. So how you speak and how you write a blog will be different. However, there are quite quick and easy ways to bring it through from one to the other, to bring them through to platform. So we're going to go through from beginner to expert in how you do that. And there's, I think, 5 steps in it that we wrote in our document that we're referring to behind the scenes. So Blab here have obviously thought about a number of ways you can repurpose things. And so they provide you with a video and an audio file. Now, obviously, if you want to get this from being spoken into written, the first stage you would do is, okay, can I play this back? Yes, because it's recorded. play it back, and to actually go through and to transcribe that, whether that's from the audio or watching the video. I would highly recommend, if you are transcribing, do it from the video. Because if there's bits you're not sure about, if you're co-hosting with someone else, you can quite often tell much easier if you can see the person speaking about it. So transcribing is obviously the first way to do it. And for those people who are repurposing up to YouTube, YouTube actually has a baked-in product for transcribing. So you can actually go through and listen and pause and write. So it gives you a writing module that allows you to write whilst you're playing back your videos. So that's kind of the beginner stages. Let's get it somewhere where we can transcribe that, whether it's listening to the audio from the file or watching the video back and putting the text through into a blog. And that's, bear in mind, you don't actually physically necessarily have to put it straight to the blog. You can put it into a document, whether it's a notepad or a Word document or Google Documents. However you're doing it, you can go that way to create it. So that's kind of step one, is to use the audio or video to transcribe it yourself. So Sarah, if I'm not someone who wants to sit and listen to my thing for like half an hour when we finish the broadcast, what would be the next step if I didn't want to do that transcription? How, kind of a couple of ideas on what I could do instead.
Well, you could outsource the transcription. So what you do is you take the audio and you can pay someone like on Fiverr. There's actual transcription services. I was trying to think of the one that I'd been recommended, but it was so long ago that I can't actually remember. But it's not, from what I understand, it's not a hugely costly adventure. So if you are someone who, for you, it's taking up time, and for, you know, for most people, time is money. I know starting out, it's all about being lean and doing things yourself. But if you're in that place where you're just above that and time is becoming money, then you can literally take the audio, send it to someone. They will transcribe it and send it back. I don't know if any of you know Denise Duffield Thomas, the lucky bitch, but she video blogs, and she also sends her video blogs away and someone transcribes them and sends them back. She gets the whole thing done like that. So it's a very real service. It's from my understanding, it's very affordable. It's not ridiculous. And I would say if you batched things, you probably get a better price too. Just at a guess.
So another thing, as well as those direct transcription services, there's obviously a rise in things like, you can look at things like Freelancer or Airtasker as well. So for those of you who don't know, they're platforms you can go to, pitch a job and say, this is the money I've got to spend on it. And then other people will come in and they'll say, I can do it for this amount of money. You can check their credentials, and then you can agree on a price and a time schedule. So it might be that if there's not an urgency to turn it around, that you're happy to put the content out next week, you might be able to get it cheaper because there's no rush on the job. So consider those things as well. So you could do it that way.
I was just going to say, let's be real as well. They're not sitting there listening to it, typing it out. They're just putting it through software. So it's not a hard job, and that's why it shouldn't be expensive. I mean, that's a really false thing for me to say. But like, they're just putting it through software, and really their job is probably just to go back and edit it and just make sure that that it actually makes sense. So just like giving you a heads up on that. Oh, and if you already have like a PA or like an admin assistant or someone like that you trust or that you employ, and you're looking for extra work for them, just give it to them. Buy software and give it to them.
If you look at how they're doing that, looking for free time when you've got someone who's a personal assistant and things like that, that's, you know, you can fill that spare time. You can say, you know, here's a job that needs doing when you've got a minute. It might not be high on your priorities. They might need other things done first. So that's kind of the way to go with that. So that's kind of a really nice segue into actually our next point, is that even if you're outsourcing it, but some people will have very advanced software and bits and pieces like that. So because we're going to talk software, I'm going to let Sarah do the intro, because I need to kick out of the broadcast and come back in order to show you what we're talking about. So Sarah, if you just want to talk about that while I reboot my camera. I'll be back in 2 seconds.
Is this 0.4 or 0.5?
So this will be 0.4.
Okay. Okay. So while Tristan reboots and comes back in, we're going to be looking at some software that you can use to transcribe yourself, so that you're able to save yourself time, repurpose, get it out. And then, as we've talked about in other shows, you know, once it's in the written form, and once that's done for you by an auto transcription service, you can then chop that up and start repurposing it in all the other ways we've talked about, tweetables and images and, you know, little snippets here and there. So as Tristan logs back in, he's going to show you a few different pieces of software that can actually do this for you. I believe some paid and maybe even some free, which well,
I guess we'll start with free, because that's where, if we're gonna progress up through the process, let's start with free. So, well, I say free. It's baked into a product that I already use. That's all of $5 Australian a month. So I think $3 US, something like that a month. So if you're a Google Apps customer, you're really going to like this. So Google Apps actually has a product that is baked into its services that allows you to transcribe stuff. So if I load into our document that we're looking at on the back end, I've just changed windows. Can you see this okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so for those who aren't familiar, what you're seeing on screen here is I'm inside of Google, inside Google Drive and Google Documents. So I've created a Google document, which is effectively Google's version of Microsoft Word. So as you can see in the top right up here, Sarah is live on here as well. So we can actually type at the same time in this document. So if I was to type, Sarah would also be able to type into the document, and this way we can write something together. So if we were doing this broadcast and transcribing, it might be that I write bits while Sarah's talking and she writes the other bits. So that would be the one way to do this. So she would be able to write all the stuff that I'm saying into here, and then I could do the same for her, and we could fill the gaps. So that's one way to create all that content quickly. So that's the early stages. Now, if you look up in the tools bar up here, there's this great tool called voice typing. So actually, you have to get these programs trained. Whichever way you do it, you'll have to train it to understand your voice, your accent, and the speed at which you speak. So it's really important to be clear in how you speak. So I know that Brian Fanzo joined a minute ago. It's a problem that probably both myself and Brian would have in using this method, is how fast we speak. So learning to slow down a little bit if you're looking to do this repurposing, because this will actually literally write your blog while you speak. One thing with this is, with the Google Documents voice typing, you do have to be live in the document. So I wouldn't be able to, if I was talking to this, be inside of the Blab window unless I split my screen and put them next to each other so that I could watch one and use the other. So there are limitations in what you can do here. So you just hit it and it pops up with a little record. It gives you a little record button on the side over here. You would click it and then it will write for you. I haven't trained this Google Drive to do it yet. It's one of the things that we're going to look at doing on a session that we can do as a very specific on this product. So I'm going to leave that for a minute, but this is one of the tools that you could use. And that doesn't mean that you couldn't use it when you're doing other things. So if you were doing other tasks, you might be able to talk to your computer while you're doing things. So this is one way to do it, is through Google Drive and Google Documents. So that would absolutely speed up the process of your writing your blog. So this is one way to transcribe. So let me just jump out of there for a second. And being on a Mac, you may or may not be used to what the screen looks like when I do this. If I bring up my applications that I've got on my computer, in here, so this is a paid piece of software, but there's one called Dragon Dictate. And the way that this piece of software works is you actually train it with a profile. So it gets to know your voice, how you speak, the pronunciation, and the types of words that you use. If you're using things like, so imagine things like LinkedIn could be 2 words, or it might be it might be that you're trying to get the word LinkedIn as in the platform. So what you need to think about there is you need to train it to know those words. Now it has default built-in things, but you can actually write your own blocks of text if there's words you use all the time. So using Brian Fanza as an example, because he's here. So if he was going to talk about SBiz hour a lot in his blogs, he would have to go in and write some documents that had SBiz hour as a word in the document, so he could repeat it and say it a number of different ways while he's reading the document back, so the program learns it. So you can see here in this window that my name's up here. So this is my profile. I can select my profile and go in to set it up to record what I'm saying. So you'd go through. This may or may not go through. Give me 1 second, just because I'm using my audio through here. So just give me a second. I think I've moved my profile, so it may not go through. Basically, what happens, very similar to Google Drive and Google Docs, it will give you a little pop-up. Now you can either do it, and this is a killer one, is you can literally click into your WordPress or whatever platform you're doing your blogging, and drag and dictate will type straight into those windows, so you can change. So this is drag and dictate. It is paid for software and it isn't cheap, but obviously you get what you pay for. Being a slightly more expensive thing, its recognition of words is much better. It's a really, really powerful tool. Spend time training it, and then it will save you a lot of time in the long run. Again, it's horses for courses. People who are doing a lot of blogging for business can probably justify it. People who are doing it on a personal level, maybe you might want to go down the Google Dictate route first and then maybe later move over to it. So definitely have a look at both of these options. I'll be tweeting these out afterwards as well. So if you follow the Create in 30 Twitter and both myself and Sarah, you'll see these tweeted out afterwards. I'll be tweeting links to all of these afterwards. So looking at how you would do this, you basically open it up, and while I'm live, the beauty of this is this floats over the top. So when it popped up with the window, it would just sit like this. So I would be able to see the screen. I could see Sarah's face and talking, and I'd be able to just leave it there and have a window open and a panel that types out what I'm doing. So that's taking it to the absolute maximum. It's not like I do a broadcast and then I go back and transcribe it. It literally transcribes while you're doing the broadcast. So if you've wondered how some of the broadcasts and the blabs get turned into blogs quicker than you think maybe it's possible for someone to go back and transcribe, maybe now you're getting a bit of a clue in the ways that you can do it. So I'm just going to quickly go back and recap through the things, and I'm going to bring up the document. So it did allow me to go through without a profile. So I'm going to just jump back through the steps as well. So in our Google Docs file, so step one would obviously be using transcribing yourself. Step two would be to outsource it to someone through Airtasker, Freelancer, or one of the transcription services, where you pay usually per minute or per job to get that transcribed for you. Or as Sarah said, if you've got a PA, maybe they would be able to join you and they would be able to do that for you. So with you would be able to obviously outsource that to someone else. The other things you could do is do an auto transcribe, whether that is that you can go to using the something like the Google Docs and the the transcribe buttons that are here. So voice typing within Google Docs will allow you to write that as you're speaking. So if you had these opened up, I mean, you could potentially with this bring this out because obviously it's for people who aren't familiar with the Google stuff. You can literally, I could open up here. Give me 1 sec to bring this to the front. I want that, and then I want that. I could put this on the side. Now I can still see Sarah, and I'd be able to use this window separately and talk into it and type it. Like I said, I haven't trained this to know my voice, but this is one way you could do it. Google Apps, I will tweet out a link for it. It is about $3 US or 5 Australian per month to get the apps, Google Apps for Work. So I'll post that one out. It's super, super worth spending the money on. I can't think of better value, and that gives you a whole range of other things as well. The other one that you've got is Drag and Dictate. So that is a paid for piece of software. I think it's about $200. I think it's about $200 US to buy, where you download the software and you can get it to run and do things. So another thing with that is you can actually use, if you train Drag and Dictate or similar software, I know that Drag and Dictate allows you to program commands into it. So actually, I'm quite often using one computer. So I run 2 Macs next to each other, and I can be on one computer, but I can dictate a blog to the other one while I'm doing simple tasks on the second computer. And I can, if someone pops up on my Facebook, I can actually train it to open the Facebook and respond to a message without jumping to the other computer. So if you're wondering how it is that you can manage so many social platforms at the same time, these are some of the tips and tools and the tricks behind the scenes, or as Nathan Haig would say, a little peek under the kimono. So I hope that this section has been really helpful to people, and that it's not been too much information. I'm actually going to kick back out. So if anyone's got any questions they want to ask, I'm going to let Sarah do that while I launch back in. Actually, I can probably just do it in. I'll do it in here. So Sarah, do you want to just do your quick recap and your thoughts around uses of it as well?
Yeah, well, before I did that, there's just some questions going on here. So these guys were wanting the link for the one in the Google Docs, but I thought that you said that you only get it if you pay for the
okay. I'll get the link for it. I'll get a link for it for you guys. So I
just wanted to mention there's been some other comments in here that there's Michael's using Dragon 13. I don't know if that's any relation to Drag and Dictate. He's also mentioned Speech Logger, and he's mentioned voicemeter.com. These are all obviously places that can dictate for you, transcribe for you, sorry, I should say. And Clay shows up right at the last minute. So have a look at those guys. Scroll back through the chat if you want to have a look and try different ones out. I mean, they all do the same thing at the end of the day. That's what you're wanting to do. You're wanting to transcribe your audio. So it's just a matter of finding one that suits you. And again, as Tristan said, you're going to have to train them all. So that's just something that it doesn't matter what you get, you'll have to do it, because it has to get used to you, your accent, how fast you speak, the words you use. So I think that that's just something to bear in mind, that like anything, the setup is maybe a little bit time consuming, but the end game is what you're after, and that's going to save you a lot of time in the future. So that's probably my recap, because you recapped everything that we said. So that's probably what I want to add, just to not get frustrated. Like, I'm the kind of personality that would get totally frustrated setting something like that up, but you are going to have to do it yourself, because it needs to recognize you and your voice.
So I'm going to drop in the chat over here and I'll put it under the repurpose videos as well. So there's a link there that will allow you to sign up for Google Apps. In the interest of transparency, yes, it's a referral link, but it's a $3 a month service that I'm referring you to because I use it and I manage all 8 of my brands through it. And that's the only reason I'm endorsing it. So there's a link there. And like I say, it'll be under all the repurpose videos. I did just drop a thing in the side there to say that there's a power tip coming, because we're just coming to the end of the broadcast. We keep it down to that 30-minute window. Now, I did say you can either go and transcribe afterwards or you can do it live. One of the things about doing transcription live is it can be massively distracting. As you could see, I had to shrink my window, put them next to each other. Typing, what if it mistypes? It might distract me. So at the end, of your broadcast, especially if you're doing a blab about things, you can go back through your blab, you can take your audio. Now, if you've got something like Drag and Dictate, you can actually input an audio file into Drag and Dictate, and it will just literally play it through and transcribe it. So you can just go, okay, I'm going out for an hour, play back this broadcast. I can go to the coffee shop, and by the time I come back, the blog post is written. So that is your getting your content into your blog really, really quickly using a range of different tools. So whether it's the Google Apps transcription or Drag and Dictate, which are the two that I'm going to personally recommend because I've used and tested them both, and I won't recommend something that I don't know is good. So yeah, definitely go and check out those things. The Google link's there. I'll tweet out the Drag and Dictate, or you can just Google for Drag and Dictate and have a look at it. I'm pretty sure that they have a free trial, so you can download and trial it, maybe with restricted features when I last checked. So I hope that that's helped everyone, and I hope to see that people are getting a lot more out of their time, because with everything in social media, as I say every single week, it is all about your time management and making the best use of your time. You only get 24 hours in a day, and if you can claim back some time or get more out of the time that you've got, that's what we're here to help you do. And that is the reason that we keep it to a 30-minute segment, so that we can help you guys. So I'm going to let Sarah do our close this week, because I always hog it. So Sarah, do you want to wrap up and do that? And I will grab a link for the next week's show.
Sure. So just want to say thank you to everyone for jumping in today, joining us. We hope you got a lot out of the repurposing, faster blogging, transcribing chat. Don't forget, if you've got any questions, anything that you want us to touch on in our shows or do a show about, just tweet us. You can tweet the Create30 account, or you can tweet our handles. So I'm going to read those out, because on the playback, none of these handles are there. So the Create30 handle is at CRE, the number 8, IN30. My handle is the_Sarah_Moore, THE_SARAH_MOORE. And Tristan's handle is at ATW Networking. So ATW and networking. I don't need to spell that. And just want to thank everyone for being here today. Make sure you sign up for next week's Blab and join us there. Thank you from both of us. We are just at the 30-minute mark now. So thank you, everyone.